This broadcast is the property of Codependents Anonymous. Reproduction without written permission from Codependents Anonymous is not permitted.
Today's topic is 13th stepping, recognizing it, and what options are available to take if you encounter what is called 13th stepping. And to help us get started, I'm going to read as a definition from an excerpt from Building CoDA Community, Healthy Meetings Matter, on the topic of 13th stepping. In recovery, manipulating another into a relationship, be it emotional, financial, or sexual, violates the core values and 12 traditions of our program. 13th stepping is a term used to describe this kind of unhealthy relationship. 13th stepping is harmful to both people involved and to the overall health of a meeting. Newcomers may be especially vulnerable. Again, that is an excerpt from Building CoDA Community, Healthy Meetings Matter. And that is in the chat box, along with a link to the document that it comes from. And James, I think you said you had some material. Let me turn the meeting over to James. Welcome, James.
Thank you, David, and thank you for the topic. I wrote down some feelings, no text. It's just my feelings and some experiences through my time in recovery. When I see the way my higher power has worked in my life, I think, what are the chances? When the topic of 13th stepping came up last month, I thought, what are the chances? Like, I have been attending meetings for over 7 years. What were the chances that I would find a meeting during the daytime, since I cannot drive at night? Then I thought, what are the chances that more people don't show up looking for their next relationship? It would seem obvious on its face, but at CoDA meetings, it's not like that. And the 13th stepping is an exception. Really, what are the chances? The few people who do come looking are addicted to love and the insatiable need that overwhelms their lives. When I came to CoDA, I was hurting so bad that the last thing I wanted was another relationship. I looked around and I knew I did not want to be normal. I was taught wrong by my family of origin and my church. I could only ask myself, what are the chances? What are the chances I would find a group that fulfilled my need for support, a group I could trust with my problems, and a trusted servant to guide me through it? What are the chances? What are the chances of me finding what a healthy and loving relationship looks like? Still, it turned out that the most important relationship in my beginning was with myself, and learning to accept and, yes, even love myself. I learned that the faith and love I placed in my higher power turned into faith and love for myself. And by learning to love myself, I learned to love other people. I gained the independence I could only dream of, and that felt so good that I released everyone else under my control so they could be independent too. Maybe it is the need for control that drives the addiction. I don't know. I found something spiritually powerful here. We each do our work, but we come together every week as a group, and we learn to accept and trust each other through unity, balance, time, and patience, and our group's higher power. For some people, this can be hard to accept. They want a fix for their addiction, and they want it now. In this way, CoDA can be like other 12-step groups. I am beginning to believe that what I find in my meetings is not a matter of chance. If it were, our meetings would be overwhelmed with predators. Step 13. I came here in pieces. I was all over the place. But week after week, share by share, in the meeting, we sorted it out and made something that worked. I do not think this happened by chance. I was led by a power greater than myself, the power of our group's conscience, the higher power that is here when we all come together. That is what brought me back to life. I think the folks who come to a meeting looking for their next relationship are misguided. They need our love and understanding. They underestimate us, our 12 steps, the power we have when we gather together. When our meetings model healthy behaviors, it allows newcomers to take their focus off their addiction just long enough to see the truth. And that is when their miracle of recovery can begin to take shape. People who come here looking for their next relationship do not understand there is so much more to learn, so they can end their survival and begin to live healthy and loving relationships. They can be equal partners in our journey of self-discovery. They can learn to love themselves, have people, and use things instead of using people and having things. There is magic in a CoDA meeting that transforms people. Not everyone, not every time. When a group of honest people come together, lives are changed. We must all be alert and aware of people entering our meetings who do not understand this, and be sure to explain it with love and firm boundaries. I think of sheep and how they are vulnerable, and how vulnerable they are. They live their lives trusting in love and living in abundance, and how the wolves lives in scarcity and fear. They might come looking for what they want, but by the grace of God and our higher power and our love, understanding, and companionship, they might just find what they need. And that's all I wrote today, David. Thank you for letting me read.
Thank you, James. Thank you for sharing. For me, 13 stepping can be any attempt to exploit another person's feelings, either spiritually, emotionally, physically, financially, sexually. And my concern is, what can I do if I recognize that behavior in a meeting? The first thing to do for me would be to speak to the person individually, one-on-one, directly. And if I'm not able to get a resolution, satisfactory resolution through one-on-one dialogue, I can bring it to the topic to the leader of the meeting, or I can ask for group conscience on the subject. That would be where I would want to begin. As a last resort, there is always the Issues and Mediations Committee, but that to me would be an extreme response. Hopefully, any issues regarding 13 stepping, or what I might perceive as 13 stepping, are best resolved within the meeting, either directly with the person or persons I feel are engaging in that behavior. And if that is not producing a satisfactory result, then bringing it to group conscience. There's a number of articles and material available at coda.org on this subject. One of them is a document that According to the document, this was created or written at Washington State Fellowship and was approved in September of 2006. The document is entitled 13 Stepping. I think I found this on the web. I'm not sure that it is available at CoDA.org. I tried to find more information on when it was approved at what CoDA Service Conference and was not able to. It includes a definition of what is 13 stepping, what might happen, and what can I do. And so I'm going to read a little bit from that document. I've already read a definition of 13 stepping. 13 stepping does not apply to all dating within CoDA. I'm reading from this document entitled 13 Stepping. 13 Stepping does not apply to all dating within CoDA or other 12-step programs. It may sometimes be considered appropriate for those with similar amounts of time to date, as we may choose those in active recovery and or who are supportive of our own in order to pursue healthy relationships. Why might it happen? As newcomers, we usually begin recovery during a painful time, and we are likely feeling vulnerable. As children, we may have been so desperate for someone to love us that it may feel nearly impossible to recognize an inappropriate gesture or turn down an offer that appeals to us as an adult. As codependents, a new romantic relationship may be our favorite drug of choice. Even those who have been in recovery for a while may still be growing in awareness and working through these issues. Rescuing and caretaking by another member, especially in the guise of helping with recovery, may appear to be nurturing, supportive, and feel very good to us. If, however, there is a romantic sexual agenda, it is considered 13 stepping. CoDA is a group of people whose common problem is an inability to maintain healthy, mature, functional relationships. Many codependents also have issues with love and sex addiction. And members may act unconsciously or unconsciously in these ways. We may meet members with unclear boundaries or who are not aware of their deeper motives. What can I do? A newcomer is encouraged to say no to anyone or anything that is uncomfortable for them. As adults in recovery, we are learning to choose healthy relationships and set boundaries where needed. And I'm going to put a link to this document. Again, this comes from Washington State CoDA Fellowship. And according to the document, it was approved. Doesn't say where it was approved. It says when. It could have just been approved at Washington State Fellowship, because I could not find any reference to it in the database of CoDA Service Conference approved material. I found this in a search of 13-step issues for CoDA on the internet, and I'm going to put a link to it in the chat. If you would like to read all of this document, you may capture this and follow up on your own. So those are some of the thoughts I have about 13 stepping and what can I do if I recognize or think I'm experiencing it in a meeting. And with that, I'd like to open this meeting up to comments, questions, and feedback from anyone here, if there's a comment you would like to make, if you could unmute yourself. And if you have any material you would like to share on 13 stepping issues you may have encountered. Hi, James. I see your hand up. Welcome. You do need to unmute yourself, James.
Thank you. I just wanted to add, and I didn't hear it anywhere in the materials, that the first thing we do in my group when we see this happening or look like it's happening is go to the person's sponsor and see if he can handle it there, because they have a better relationship with the person than anyone else. And I'll pass. Thank you.
Do you know who the person's sponsor is, or you ask them? How do you find out who their sponsor is? I like that thought.
Right, I know. We're a very close group. That's why I said it might not be. People might not think of it, but usually in a group of 12 to 20 people, you usually know who's sponsored and who, and it's best to talk to the person's sponsor, and that way they can straighten it out and it's in a loving way.
Yeah. Supportive and loving way. What is the loving thing to do? As always, good. I like that suggestion. Although in my meetings and where I am in this program, I often do not know who anyone's sponsor is. But I do like the suggestion. I like that thought, because that feedback coming from a sponsor in this area would probably be a lot easier to hear. Anyone else have any questions, comments, or feedback? Any experience with 13 stepping that you would like to share? Jen, welcome.
Hi, thank you. I'm Jen. I'm codependent. I'll just share my experience. I don't know that I have an answer per se, but I did experience 13th stepping, and it's been over text and over Zoom, not in a live meeting. So hearing the definition of 13th stepping was helpful, but also didn't necessarily apply specifically to my experience. What happened with me was early on in my recovery, within the first 6 months, I developed a friendship with somebody in recovery who I thought was trying to be supportive, but then would say things that made me a little uncomfortable, but they weren't overtly romantic. It was more in the trying to save me sort of realm, trying to come to where I live, which was in a different state from them, and provide comfort and give me hugs and things of that nature. And that felt really inappropriate to me. And I brought that to another member of my CoDA home group who had decades of recovery. And that person helped me to recognize what my part in that was and how I could establish boundaries. But then, and this is where it gets a little dicey and a little more insidious, is as my friendship with this person, whom I considered a mentor, developed, then there was communication from this person that became more romantic, but again, more in the line of fantasy of we live so far apart. I imagine this is the relationship I wish I could have with you, were things that were said to me. But because they were being shrouded in this idea that it couldn't happen because of the distance between us, and because this person said, I realize that I am perhaps overstepping and being inappropriate, and I apologize, and then would continue to do this, I laughed it off. And I was newish at that point. I was a year and a half, 2 years into recovery. So I felt like I had enough recovery behind me that I could laugh these comments off. But it became more and more upsetting, and then it became upsetting in meetings, and I won't go into all the details of that, but I think my trouble with this is that I recognize now that I believe this happens not just with me, but with other people in the meeting. And when I reached out to female members that I felt safe with, many of them were aware that this was a pattern of behavior. And I felt angry and betrayed because I hadn't been warned. But again, I know as a codependent, I know it's my job to clean up my side of the street, not to save anyone else's. So I guess all of my rambling is to say, how do I stay on my side of the street, not break someone's anonymity, but also protect the safety of newcomers and myself? What's my responsibility here? So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's a very good point to make. Certainly one of the things that I can do in a meeting, because the question arises, if I see someone 13 stepping, but it is with someone else, it's not with me directly, is it acceptable for me to get involved in that issue? Perhaps the best thing to do is to go to the leader of the meeting or ask for group conscience and discussion. Perhaps the meeting wants to draft a statement on 13 stepping and acknowledge its existence and caution people so that newcomers coming into the meeting are aware of that possibility and know that they can take steps to say something about it, to say no, this is not appropriate. I'm a newcomer. Is this right for you to be speaking this way to me? So that's a very good point to make. And so if anyone, I wonder what your thoughts might be. If you see 13 stepping going on in a meeting, is it okay for you to get involved? How would you respond if you experienced 13 stepping not directly with you, but with someone else in the meeting? What do you think is an appropriate response to that? Brianna, welcome.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brianna. I've been in ACA and CoDA for March. It'll be 2 years. Thank you for having this forum. I was looking forward to it for like all week. So as you're saying this, that question came up. Being in CoDA and ACA, I've really, really, really been working on not getting involved in taking other people's inventory and putting myself to judge or to take care of. And I've been working so hard at that. However, now it's my second time having someone do the 13th step on me. And I think now if I saw it happening, because I didn't really know what it was, and a fellow CoDA had actually talked to me about it and sent me a lot of literature and then sent me to this forum, and I didn't realize what it was. I think a big part of this was because of anonymity, and I just felt I was new, and I'm still very new, and I feel like a big part of this anonymity keeps me from going further into it and thinking that there's something wrong, and also trying to do the opposite. So when my radar went up, I thought, well, I'm in program, so I'm going to do the opposite, and I'm going to think differently. And so but the 13th stepping is real, and it does not feel good. I don't like the way I've been feeling in all of this times two. So if I do see it now with someone else, I don't know how I'm going to say it, but I don't know. I can't, it's so odd. Before I would have said, yes, it's my duty. I need to tell them. But I also feel like I wouldn't want someone else to go through this not knowing. I just didn't know what I didn't know. And I don't blame other people for not jumping in if they had known. Again, But I do feel like if it's someone I'm close to in recovery and I've been with them for a while, and this person that has done this to me, either one of them start it with them and they express it to me, then I would step in and tell them my story and tell them what happened. Not tell them what to do, but share this, because I just didn't know. I also didn't know that I was allowed to feel this way, because I'm trying to work against all of my old feelings and actions or reactions. So the 13-step thing is awful, and it's there, it's real, and I wish as a community we did talk about it more. And I like the idea of having that in the group conscious to talk about, because I just didn't know. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Brianna. Yeah, this is such an important topic, and not an easy topic for discussion. As I said earlier, this topic can be triggering for people, and I appreciate that. I respect that. At the same time, I'm concerned that I wanted to have this topic because I feel it's important to be aware. If I come to a place for recovery from my triggers, to encounter triggering behavior in that very place where I'm looking for recovery, that's concerning to me. And Jeanette, welcome. I see your hand up.
Yes, hi, I'm Jeanette, codependent from Canada. I have two incidents that I'd like to, I guess, speak about. My internet connection is a bit unstable, so I hope I don't cut. The first example, I felt uncomfortable. In one meeting, a lot of like just to meet and chat on WhatsApp separately from the meeting. And one person in that group had a dog that was very, very sick. And she started asking for money. She said that she couldn't afford the vet costs. And she wondered if people would be willing to give her money or a donation. And I thought that was inappropriate, although it was taking place on WhatsApp. So I don't know if anyone has any feedback on that, but I decided to leave the group.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that, Jeanette. Unfortunately, I think, yes, thanks for cautioning us about the stability of your connection. You did cut out a little bit, but I got the gist of it.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes.
And then I can tell you about the other incident, but
okay.
If that's okay. If not, I can wait another turn.
Well, let me see if anyone else, there's no one else
Okay.
hand
Thank
up.
you.
Is there anyone else that would like to comment on this? Is a mention of a 13th stepping issue outside of a meeting in a WhatsApp group related to a 12-step program. And again, here again, the appropriate action is what are my safe boundaries? What is safe for me, self-care for me, and those come first. Joni, I see your hand up. Welcome.
Thank you. You know, when I, even though it's a WhatsApp group, my consideration is I think of the 12th tradition. We practice these principles in all our affairs. The boundaries of the meetings go on into the WhatsApp group and any other thing outside of a meeting. And I don't think behaviors that wouldn't go on in a meeting shouldn't go on in a WhatsApp group that are affiliated with our meetings. Anything that's program related. And that's the way I would address it for myself. Like, I don't think people should comment on what people share in a WhatsApp group or in a fellowship after a meeting. I think that the boundaries need to be adhered to there as well. And although I know that in an in-person meeting, there might be sharing among people that's a little more a little different, but still, I think the boundaries should maintain themselves. I had one person share with me that the leader of an in-person meeting kept hitting on her to go to coffee, and it's the only meeting she had in her area, and the pressure was really intense, so she just stopped going to the meeting. She had to start going to online meetings, and it's a real problem. So with that, I will pass.
Thank you, Joni. Yeah. So 13 stepping is a serious problem, and the fact that it could interfere with someone's recovery program is very concerning. This is, I'm glad we're having this conversation, because, what do they say? My secrets keep me sick. If there's something that I need to share, I need to talk about, if I can't do it in a meeting, if I can't do it in this program, I don't know where I can do it. So thank you for being here and participating in today's fellowship forum. Any other comments or feedback? Jen, welcome.
Hi, it's Jen, codependent again. I don't mean to monopolize this. I just had a couple more thoughts. In my experience of being 13th step, I did actually want to say that while parts of it were incredibly uncomfortable, a lot of that didn't happen for me until I guess the end of that period of time. In the beginning, and maybe it is because I was still a newcomer and I have my codependent behavior patterns and whatnot, but some of it actually felt really nice. I felt like I was being love bombed, and that's what made it really confusing to me and also a little bit shameful. I really appreciate having this forum because I don't feel like I have a safe place to talk about this, because I still attend meetings where these people are present and I talk about it with my sponsor, but that's about it. But I think that's why this becomes so confusing for me, because I am codependent and in this program to have healthy and loving relationships, but I have my own issues with love and whatnot. So to have that sort of attention focused on me, and to know that I was only encountering these people through a screen or through my phone, it felt like a weird safety, but it did interfere in my recovery. And I found that a lot of my time in meetings was spent fixating on this person and whether they were doing this to other people. And I do understand that that is about me needing to redirect my focus onto me, my codependency, but it was a distraction that I wish hadn't happened. And I struggle sometimes with the idea that the onus needs to be on the newcomer, on the person who is in fact being 13th step, when as a newcomer, I didn't understand boundaries and I wasn't strong enough to say, or in some cases didn't want to say no. And it does bring up a lot of stuff. So again, thank you for letting me share. I'll try to not talk too much.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you for your share. Cassidy, welcome.
Thank you so much, Cassidy, codependent. Oof, this is a tough one. I've been in CoDA. It'll be 6 months in the first week of January. And I've heard things shared about, being a newcomer and not knowing what it was. And I feel that is my experience. It's happened to me twice. And the first time it happened in a meeting, I went to my sponsor and I talked about it and looked at my part in it, and definitely, saw some things in myself that I was like, oop, noted. Very grateful for the self-awareness. But I was, provided, I don't want to say with advice, but some experience, strength, and hope that led me to take the action of going to the meeting host, the meeting leader. And it was very difficult for me to do. And then about a week later, the meeting leader started being extremely inappropriate. And it started out with, checking in on me, and then it turned pretty quickly to the point that I noticed it and I set up a boundary, I thought. And when I set the boundary, it did not go well, to the point where I had to end up blocking this person. And I no longer feel comfortable sharing in this meeting. It is a meeting that is convenient for me. There are no other meetings at that time. I do not have a luxury of a meeting in person that I can go to. And it's really made me question a lot of things, which I think is great, but it's also made me feel, or I feel, that my recovery has taken some steps backwards, because so much of my recovery has come from sharing and feeling comfortable enough to share freely, which I no longer do. And it's also made me trepidatious in other meetings to share, because I'm now so scared that this will happen. And I see it happening a lot. I see it a lot in these WhatsApp groups, which is why I've left almost all but maybe two. I think there's a lot of inappropriate behavior that happens in these WhatsApp groups because they're not monitored. And I do not see the traditions being followed almost in all of them that I was once a part of, which gives me pause. And then I also really struggle with the fact that I see it happening. I can see it with other people, and I wish somebody would have warned me, because it was pretty traumatic for me. It triggered a lot of things that, being new in recovery, I thought this was going to be a safe place, and I was very shocked by this all. I'm glad that I'm still here. I'm glad that I have a great sponsor. I'm glad that I have wonderful people in the program that I can reach out to. But I also wish I was afforded with the opportunity to feel safe in meetings and feel free to share in a way that won't be talked about, retaliated against emotionally. I won't be emotionally manipulated through that person or those people and their friends. I feel like it's so difficult for me to even talk about, but I know the importance for me of being able to get things out and not stay sick. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Cassidy. Thank you for your share. Yeah, I think that I'm grateful to be able to have a forum on this topic and for us to be able to talk about this, because, if you see something, say something. My recovery is I need to know that I can have a place where I can feel safe in my recovery. And with all the things I'm dealing with inside of myself, I don't need the added pressure of having someone 13 stepping on me or in my meeting that interferes with or retards or hinders my ability to recover. Anything that gets in the way of my healthy meetings and my recovery is a concern. There is a question in the chat that is a special case of 13 stepping from Juan Pablo. Thank you. I'll read that out loud. How can I approach a person that has been a member of CoDA for a number of years, but now is a professional therapist and is offering therapy sessions to others in CoDA meetings? And if they are making that a statement in a meeting, that is inappropriate. And you can say to this person, I think your intentions may be good, but it is not appropriate. There is ample material in CoDA about checking our professional credentials at the door when we enter a meeting. We're here as individuals. We're not here to talk about what we do for a living. We're especially not here to offer professional services within the meeting. That is totally inappropriate behavior. And I would say something directly to that person, and also ask for good conscience on that discussion, to have the meeting talk about, get a consensus on what is acceptable and what is appropriate. And if you would do a little search, I can't right now in the meeting do a search for you on Pablo, but there is a discussion in the Blue Book on this very issue, and also in the 12 and 12 workbook. I think that this falls under traditions. This would be tradition 10, tradition 9, tradition 8. Codependence Anonymous should remain forever non-professional. There are a number of areas where that type of activity in a meeting is completely inappropriate. So I would approach this person directly, ask them to not do that. That is not in keeping with CoDA traditions. And while their intentions may be good, that's not the place for it. I hope that helps you with that. I think that's a really important issue. From time to time, I do see in meetings people say, oh, I'm a fireman, or I'm a teacher, or I'm a professional therapist, whatever. What can happen is that other people in the meeting can see that person as an authority figure. And that is counter to the principles of this 12-step program, that when somebody offers themselves up as an authority on a subject, particularly a subject pertaining to recovery, and that person starts to be viewed as an authority, people turn to that person and say, well, what do you think I should do? Or, and it just undermines the 12-step process. It undermines everyone's recovery in the program. So thank you for that question. Well, thank you for mentioning that. Any other comments?
Yes, this is Amelia.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I do hear you. Would you like to share your name?
My name is Amelia.
Hi, Amelia.
I got
Welcome.
morning voice. All right. I have a few things, and I've had some experience with dealing with people who have come on the line. These are the things that I noticed. The person coming on the line is new and comes in with an agenda already. I've had that experience. They're looking for friends, and have gone so far as to advertise that they're looking for friends. There was a gentleman who was asking for funds so that he could get the literature. And because I was able to, with the help of others, because it's my own personal issue, and trigger warning, having survived sexual abuse, this is kind of like grooming. I recognized it, but I have been through a lot of relationships that this occurred and never saw it. Now I see the pattern, but I still have self-doubt. I have self-blame. What did I do that this is happening? But one thing that overrode that for me was the safety of the group. And at the time, being a moderator, I felt responsible for making sure other people felt safe. I didn't call the person out, but I did remind them of the tradition or the behaviors that we modify when we're talking to each other. Females with females, males with males. And for one person, that didn't get through to them. I also, since a lot of people don't give out their phone numbers, I gave out mine as the moderator, also to answer any questions. And this person got personal with me. And it's not overtly, I want to have, with you. It's more being overly complimentary constantly throughout the call, even when one says stop. And I don't think that a newcomer coming in, being, hurting as they are, don't really have those boundaries set. So they're assuming this is the help that they're getting. I've had 2 people come off the fellowship, and one of them was new, and the other one was an opposite sex, and stayed on the line with that person until it turned into phone sex, and somebody else heard it. I'm sorry, sometimes they don't give out their numbers, so we can't contact them. I've had other people be able to say to me, I've had this issue with this person, and, it could be gossip, but again, it's about safety of the group, and I felt that that was a priority. Also, tradition 1, recovery for the greatest number, and this one person can upset the whole group. They were trying to dominate the group so they can place their ad for wanting a girlfriend or a boyfriend. And when they were challenged, they moved to another fellowship or another group and started again. And I recognized the behavior. But it took me a long time to figure out, years. I mean, we're talking being in programs for like over 40 years. I didn't know what to say to somebody when they spoke to me like that. I thought it was me. I did something wrong. Self-blame is a killer, and I don't think that groups of people leaving the meeting because of one person, I don't think that's right. It's about safety for everyone. Okay, let's see. I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. Self-blame, because of being a survivor of sexual abuse, the first thing they think of, I did something. There's something wrong with me. And for that reason, we'll let it continue because we're not sure that that's what's really happening. Denial comes into play, and the manipulation that ends up occurring because of it. We've been groomed before, It does feel good to get a compliment every now and then, but one doesn't know until they've started to do the work. And a new person coming in has not started yet. They don't even know the guidelines of the program within the meeting, that we don't crosstalk, that we don't tell other people's stories, and they don't know that yet. I read literature for years before I finally got an aha moment. Oh, that's what they meant by that. Took years. So I would definitely want to side with the person that is being hurt. And the other thing that I was worried about was that the actual invitation, I guess, might be a word, might not be the right one, but the actual invitation or the actual dialogue occurs after the meeting when they get somebody's number. So now they're on the phone with this person one-on-one and can do it. And it's like, well, that's outside of the meeting, though, not necessarily in the meeting, but they're using the meeting to turn around and be able to talk to people outside of the meeting and do this to them. Who's responsible there? Let's see. Yeah, that was after the fellowship. And it became a stalking thing. It's not for people talking to me personally, the moderator, and me seeking out other people's suggestions about this, because I had nothing. Even when I'm one-on-one with a person in the street and they say something funny, I don't know how to respond. I just freeze. So the barrage continues, because I didn't say nothing. Now that's permission. And let's see. So I did formulate a speech. Hold on. Which also allowed me to be more, I hate to say it, authoritative. And I was able to let everyone know I will not be taking numbers tonight. We're not exchanging contact information. I have a reason. But if one wanted to contact me, they could do that. And I would see if I could, help them to get the numbers that they want, but not do it in front of this person. So when the group conscience, I didn't quite understand that, because it was kind of attacking that person on the phone. And that didn't seem right either. But that person did call me. And I was able to finally speak to them. But like I said, it took many years to be able to say something with confidence and without being mean, and share my experience with how this occurred to me and how I felt about it with a new person. But like I said, they just moved to another meeting and started stalking in that meeting, even into other fellowships, and started stalking there. So it's not being stopped. It's a good skill to get, to be able to talk to somebody and say that, this is inappropriate. It's really good, but it takes a long time for some people, or not even being able to recognize the behavior at all. So I think that's a big thing that can be discussed if one knows about, those kind of behaviors and is recognizing them. And that's really been helpful for me. And there was some literature that someone suggested that really opened my eyes. And I'm grateful for that. So I think that's all of the things that I want to make sure I didn't miss anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I pass at that point. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you for sharing. Is it Amelia? Did I get it correctly?
Yes.
Thank you, Amelia. I think we are getting close to time to wrap things up. I think the thing that I would like to come away with, Joni, I see your hand up. A few minutes. Go right ahead.
I just have one question.
Yes.
Does the literature committee have any plans, or is there an actual pamphlet on 13 stepping? And if not, is there plans to create one?
That's a very good question. I don't know, but I will bring that to the literature committee. What I'd like to suggest is that what I'd like to see people come away with from this meeting, and if you're listening to this recording, is that if you see something that feels like 13 stepping, don't be afraid to say something to the person you're experiencing it with. Don't be afraid to speak to the leader of the meeting. Don't be afraid to ask for a group conscience on what you're experiencing. And so the most important thing is, because it's certainly 13 stepping can really interfere with a person's recovery. It definitely can be an added obstacle. I come to this program to remove the obstacles in my recovery. I don't need to meet an obstacle in this program put down in front of my recovery. So don't be afraid to speak up. If you're experiencing something that feels uncomfortable, don't be afraid to speak about it in your meeting, with the person you're experiencing it with, and with your leader, with the meeting leader. So next year, January, the meeting will be the last Saturday of the month, the 27th of January. And because of its proximity to the sponsorship workshop that is taking place on February 10th, more information about that is available at coda.org. Should go up in the CoDA calendar shortly. I would like to suggest that to James, my co-host, that we make the topic for next month, sponsorship. And so that's my suggestion. We meet every last Saturday of the month, 12 noon Pacific time, 1 p.m. Mountain, 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Atlantic. Can't say what the Greenwich Mean Time is. If you are here, thank you so much for your participation and sharing today, and hope to see you next month. If you have a topic you would like to suggest, There are links in the chat where you can write them or mention them in a meeting. We'll close the meeting with the CoDA closing prayer, which I'll share on the screen. We thank our higher power for all that we have received from this meeting. As we close, may we take with us the wisdom, love, acceptance, and hope of recovery. Again, thank you all for participating and helping to make today's meeting a success.
Thank you, everyone.